Kaitlyn, it's so great to have you here with us today.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited. Well, listen, thank you so much for doing this, obviously. But we kind of, as me and Mandy have done a few of these now, we've realized that we need to get some of like the really difficult questions out in the beginning.
Got it.
That way people can kind of relax and
Great.
we can just have a conversation for the rest of the time.
Awesome.
So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the biggest, most important questions. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the best Batman?
I have no idea.
What do you mean you have no idea? Have you never seen Batman?
I've watched them, but I don't really.
All right, well, is Michael Keaton the best Batman?
Yikes. Is he? No.
Christian Bale.
Yes.
Christian Bale's the best?
Yes.
Better than Ben Affleck?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. That's one for Christian Bale.
He'll be definitely better than Edward Cullen, too.
I totally disagree.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Michael Keaton's still the best. Good job. Second question. Are you ready?
Great. Yes.
All right. Between me and Mandy, you know us well.
I'm not picking.
Who's Batman? Who's Robin?
Batman.
Yes. Yes.
Unbelievable!
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Why are you? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever
I
head.
love it.
I had to be honest.
I
Now
appreciate
that the
your honesty.
question's out of the way, though, we can move on, right? Is that how that works?
Oh man. Well, maybe it turns out you're Sherlock and you're Batman.
Clearly.
All right. Fair enough.
Clearly we know who's in charge, the brains behind the operation, so thank you.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks so much for answering those very important questions.
Absolutely.
But really what we wanted to talk to you about is just kind of like your journey, just telling people your testimony. We realize the importance of explaining and talking about what God's done in our lives. So, how old were you when you got saved?
I was 6.
6 years old.
I was 6. I was a little babe.
Just a little baby.
Just a little babe, yeah.
Do you remember it?
I don't really.
Okay.
I mean, I have very vague memories, but it was actually I grew up in a Christian home.
Sure.
And there was, what's that? Was it TV? What was that TV show that was always?
VeggieTales?
No, that was always. You
Batman.
guys, no. It had like live sermons all the time.
PBS.
No.
TBN.
Yeah, I think.
What?
Sure. Sounds good.
Let's go with
TBN.
it. Yeah, let's go.
TBN.
So you were watching TBN.
Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But yeah, okay. And there was like a preacher, and he was like, so this, like, do you want Jesus? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember going to my mom, and she was in the kitchen, and I was like, Mom, I want Jesus. And so she, like, we did the prayer there in our living room. Isn't that cool?
That's
That's awesome.
really cool.
So it's different, I guess, but yeah.
That's awesome. So you get saved at 6, and
Yep.
then everything's perfect from there on out.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I actually got filled with the Holy Spirit at a really young age.
How old?
I was in, okay, let me go back. I was in 5th grade.
5th grade.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was different. We were going to a church at the time, and there was this couple that came in from Australia,
Ooh.
and it was.
Howdy, mate.
I know, maybe that's what attracted me to it.
No, that was the worst Australian accent I've ever
Yeah,
heard
it
in
was
my
pretty
life.
bad.
Just saying.
Did you say howdy,
Howdy? She
mate?
said howdy.
I feel like howdy is not
what
an
they
Australian
say?
word.
So,
No,
okay.
no, that's definitely not what they say.
I apologize.
All right, continue.
Anyways.
Howdy, mate. Really?
Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
That was
The
good.
worst Australian thing I've ever heard.
More
All right.
British, I get it.
I'm pretty sure they don't say howdy in Britain
No,
either.
howdy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so I remember going. It was during our like, where we do a theme in the summer,
Vacation Bible School.
kind of like that. But
Cool.
so it was like a safari theme, and then it just
Yeah.
played into them coming.
That's
oh,
cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then they like did this like altar call basically, and I went up and I was like, this is cool. I want it. Like I am excited about it. And they prayed over me, and I just started speaking in tongues, and I was like, what just happened? Because I was young, like, still
Right.
practicing.
Sure.
So that was really cool. And then I got baptized when it was in like 2nd grade.
2nd grade.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I got 3 necklaces.
Come on.
I know.
Wow, 3?
3. From 3 different people. Oh, it was
That's
great.
amazing.
Yeah, we had a party.
Nice.
Second to, oh great, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what
So
was it
anyway.
like growing up in your home? So you say you grew up with parents that are obviously believers.
Yeah.
And so how did they interact with you with these experiences you were having with Christ? So you get saved at a young age, your mom's a huge part of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was it's probably something she'll remember for the
Yeah.
rest of her life.
Yeah.
But what was it like in your home with your parents?
They were really great. They actually were always listening to like old school. I have memories of like old school like Rich Mullins and like what's Rita Springer? Like
Sure,
just like
yeah.
that's like childhood memory to me.
Yeah.
And then growing up in school, we always like talked about the importance of like prayer and affirmations kind of. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I'm really passionate about that. But when we were going to school, it was always like, okay, like we're gonna pray and like this is, and we just quoted scripture verse. And I think that, I know that was like a huge staple of like
Awesome.
my walk with God at that young age. So
That's so great.
yeah, they're great.
So did you go to public school, homeschool?
Public.
Public. So like how was that for you? You're growing up as a Christian, you're going to public school.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I was known as the Christian gal. It's true. Yeah, it kind of like shifted from like elementary and then to like middle school.
Yeah.
And then high school it was like more okay because then there was like first priority and there were
Sure.
like other. But I just remember like, oh, I was the Jesus freak. People used to call me that, and I was like,
Did they really?
you are the freak. I would never say that to them.
But you felt it.
But I was like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And then how many siblings do you have?
3.
3. So that's exciting.
Yes. Yep.
And so
Oh, 2. What? I have 2 siblings.
you have 2 siblings.
There are
There's
3 of
you
us.
total. I kind of put that together what you meant, but I was just going to roll with it.
That's
Just gonna
okay,
roll with
great.
it.
Yep.
So are you the middle, oldest, youngest?
I am the middle child.
All right.
5 years older sister and a sister that's 5 years younger.
So your oldest sister's 5 years older than you, and your younger sister's how many years younger?
5.
Oh wow,
So there's a nice
Wow.
gap.
that is a really good gap.
And you guys have children.
We do.
What are their ages?
Great question. So Austin's 21.
Uh-huh.
Chandler is 19.
Very good. Very good.
Nice.
And Nicole is 17.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Be here all week. You know what I mean? Be here all week. Yeah, so we have 3 as well, right?
Love that.
And on a,
We didn't wait as far between. Though.
No,
we
were,
just were like bing bang boom.
Yeah.
yeah, we were
Right,
like, oops, I can't believe it. What? You know?
It was like oops, oops. Oh, let's have one.
Oh, that's really
You know,
good.
so
yeah.
we didn't have all the planning that obviously your parents put into the 5-year spacing it out. You guys got your own high school experience.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But as a parent watching your kids, receive Christ and grow and mature in Christianity, it is such a huge sense of relief, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge sense of relief. And one of the things we were always, we're really passionate about was our kids being, committed to the house of God, right? We realized that as parents, we would have, we wouldn't be able to fill everything and then we wouldn't be able to sharpen them in every area. Because, parents are blinded to things sometimes.
Right.
And so we wanted a church community that would be part of that.
Yeah.
So how did you find the point?
I found the point because Jessica found the point, which is my older sister.
All right.
And then through friends that she went to high school with, actually.
Okay.
I was already going here.
Very cool.
And then I think I came here once for when she got set in as a member.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was in college and I decided to take a break.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, I'll do Rev. So I had a meeting and then the next day I was just,
You
the
were
next
doing it.
weekend I was just in.
For you that don't know, what Rev is it was a discipleship program we ran for many years here at the Point, where we would take students that were taking a year out from their study time or their college experience or adulthood, wherever they were in their walk, and they would take a year just to focus on their walk with God and growing in that. And a lot of the people that we've talked to have done Rev.
Yeah.
So what was your Rev experience like?
It was great.
That's awesome.
What did you learn the most on that?
And Rev,
Yeah.
I think a servanthood of excellence and patience probably were two
It's good ones.
big ones. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And how do you think that journey shaped you and who you are today, doing Rev?
You know, that's a good question, Karl. I think that it had a lot of, I think it definitely made me more aware of like the community that like you surround yourself with and the importance of that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I can see where people would think, oh, like, it's church all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? It's
yeah.
like, oh my gosh. But if you shift your paradigm a little bit and get outside of it, it's like, no, you're doing life with these people.
Yeah,
So it's
totally.
just like a friendship.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're just pursuing advancing the kingdom of God
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So it's just, that was probably a takeaway from Rev.
That's a good takeaway.
Yeah.
That's a great
That's
takeaway.
a good takeaway. So, like in your community, what would you think? Like, are some of like the bigger challenges today that community, like your age demographic, what are some of the challenges they have? What's the big attacks going on for them right now, in your view?
That's a good question. I would say, I think as of lately, my age demographic has been on social media a lot.
Yes.
Myself included.
Yeah.
And so I was just listening to Matt speak
Yeah.
on Sunday,
Yeah.
and he had said, you know, with everything that's going on, like ultimately the Bible is
Yeah.
the truth,
Yeah,
right?
100%,
And so
yeah.
we can't seek, even if it's like a Christian friend or somebody who's their opinion,
Yeah.
or the media or the news outlets, it's
Yeah.
like, no, we gotta dive into the Word of God.
Yeah.
And I think that would be something people are lacking pursuing, maybe.
Sure. Well, it's an interesting, like your generation grew up with social media.
Sure.
We didn't
yeah.
have that.
No.
We had to wait for the
What was Facebook?
Yeah, like
MSN?
yeah,
No,
you know,
we had dial-up.
We had dial-up, you know. I mean, it was you know, you paid by the minute for internet,
Right,
right?
yeah.
My first internet experience was I went to a Star Trek chat room because I didn't know what else was on the internet, so I just typed in Star Trek, and that's what pulled up. I was in it for 2 seconds. I'm like, I'm out, and I didn't touch the internet again for like 10 years, right? Like it
Sure.
wasn't part of our journey.
Sure.
But you guys grew up, and social media is a huge part of your journey.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of good in that. I think
Yes.
there's a lot of things about social media that are beautiful. But I also think there's probably a lot that can be incredibly detrimental to
Sure.
us. And so when you think about your life, your journey, how has social media played in to how you look at things, you view things, to how has it affected your life and the lives of the people around you, negative and positive?
Yeah. I think that social media, like you said, I agree completely. There's negative and positive.
Yeah.
But we as individuals get to cultivate what we get from it.
Yeah,
right?
totally, yeah.
So there was this one time when a girl came up to me at Exchange, which is, it was our young adults
Yeah.
ministry at the
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
And she was like, oh my gosh, like, nice to meet you. I was like, yeah, nice to meet you too. And she's like, oh my gosh, I've been following you for like ages. And I was like, oh, like, so great to meet you.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because if you think about it, I had influence on somebody I had never met.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's like, well, what am I putting out there? What am
Yeah.
I speaking
Yeah.
about? How am I engaging? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so I think that was like a moment where I was like, I have to speak the truth
Yes.
of God, and I have to
Yeah.
be intentional, and I have to bring joy. And sometimes, yeah, I don't know. So I think that is crucial. And the negative outlook of it, I think, is there's like the check yourself moment of like, sometimes I'll be hanging out with some friends and it's like, okay, it's family time, like put your phones down.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but again, going back to like the Word of God, and you choose who you follow. Like you choose the voices that
100%.
are in your head. You choose what you're seeing on your screen.
Yeah.
So
Do you think that you can see the importance of correlating? Because I agree, social media I think is amazing,
Yeah.
and you can reach so many more people. But I watch my kids who, you know, that's how they've all grown
Sure.
up on, right?
Sure.
Like they know nothing different. It's like instant. And watching them try to navigate having an authentic relationship while being online, because sometimes they think just posting it online is just that's good. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Mandy. I think that there is a balance, and I was listening to somebody once, and they said just because we have an outlet for social media doesn't mean we need to use it all the time.
Yeah, that's good.
And again, that stuck with me because it's like, okay, yeah, we all have bad days, and we
Yeah.
all want to vent, but like, is that what we should be doing? Like, do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
So,
yeah.
but with the importance of relationship and the value of that, I would say personally, I could not live alone off of my social media friends.
Correct.
I
You know?
agree. I do think it's so interesting watching the different generations, because for us, I think we need to learn to embrace
Sure.
social media more and actually learn how to use it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
That is
I
key.
mean,
Yeah.
I just learned how to use a filter the other day on
Yes,
Instagram, and
girl.
I didn't know what it was. My daughter, Nicole, had to show me how to do it. So I do think there's that balance of
Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
the happy medium,
Yeah.
because it is so useful, and I think it, you know, clearly it's going to be around for ever, right? I mean, there'll probably be something different than Facebook,
Yeah.
but I guess that's like the old people thing to use now, I guess,
Yeah.
is what I've been
Facebook.
told.
Yeah, probably.
But I do think it's interesting to see the difference in the generations, but I do think it brings everybody together
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, I think there is a balance. Yeah, it's all that word. What does balance really mean? Are we all balancing? How? I don't know. But the importance of yes, there. So you can form like relationships. Like I've met people online that
yeah.
I probably wouldn't because I use a hashtag that's like everyday girl life or like
Yeah.
Bible journaling or something like that,
Hashtags.
which are kind of like going away. So
They're
don't,
going.
so don't worry
We
about
don't
it.
want to learn that now.
So forget about it. But I'm
We were
just,
just getting ready to
yeah,
jump.
we're
she's like mental notes check.
Right.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Hashtags are our new thing.
Nope. Okay.
But then there's also the seclusion and the comparison side of it.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it's a fine line, I think.
It is, and people can allow it to so influence their life in a
Right.
very negative way.
Right.
Right. Like most people put their best moments on social media.
Right.
Does that make
Right.
sense? Like
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of moments of couples disagreeing on social media, but I
Right.
see a lot of happy families, all smiles, everything's great moments,
Right.
right? And so you can look at something and compare your real life to their fake life.
Sure.
And that I think that can sometimes be a little bit of a drawback. Well, it is sometimes a drawback.
Yeah.
But I think obviously one of the challenges is you can either focus on all the negative or all the positive, but you really got to look at it as a whole. And how when we talk about balance, it's about using wisdom in how you
Right.
operate in anything. Like TV's great, too much TV not so great.
Right.
Not enough TV, not
Not so
good
great.
either.
Yep,
You know,
sure.
everybody needs a little TV in their life.
Right.
You know, and so you have to
Batman.
find the balance is about the influence.
Yes.
Like how is it influencing you?
Right.
What's your hope with it, right? And when I go on Facebook, you know, I'm old. I'm 42 years old. You know, getting up there, and I look at my kids and their social media experience is very different than mine.
Right.
You know, when I go on social media, I most of the time just feel like somebody's trying to sell me something. That's how I feel usually
Yeah.
when I look at it. I'm like, here's somebody else trying to sell me something, or somebody else
Sure.
trying to sell me something. And then I find like some really cool quotes on there, and then my friends at some point I'll see like a picture of something they're doing. And I think that's awesome, right? Like they're taking their kids horseback riding or jumping out of airplanes or whatever it is. I think that's
it.
exciting, right?
Yeah.
Nope.
But that can't be the basis of our relationship. I remember talking to Austin one time, and I was like, hey, it's your mom's birthday. He's like, yeah, no, I put it on social media. I was like, cool. You should probably still call her, right?
Yeah.
And it's that thing that it's for some people, sometimes if it's not on social media, it doesn't count, or that's the only thing they put it on,
Yeah.
right? And that interaction that you have, even over a phone call, or, you know, you come from a texting generation as well.
It's true.
You guys can text.
It's true.
Right.
Phones.
Thumbs,
I
right?
mean,
You guys texting like crazy.
I've never seen him write text so fast in my life.
Yeah.
Until trying to get the one sent out, and there's like 5 different
Oh,
texts.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, wait.
Whereas our generation would rather talk on the phone.
Well, there's talk to text now, so you don't have to.
See, I don't want to get better at
Sorry,
text.
I'm sorry.
Well, the thing
They're
always,
like hashtags,
the thing
you know.
always messes it up for
Yeah.
me. And,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You
and
don't
doesn't
talk right.
understand my accent.
Your
Yeah,
your accent.
Your Australian howdy.
I get so confused.
Oh, that's great. So, tell us now, 'cause we kind of know you got saved young, got filled
Yeah.
with the Holy Spirit young, parents were filled with faith, you had a house of prayer, house
Mm-hmm.
of, you grew up this amazing Christian walk, you find the point because your sister, you do rap, you've gone through all these amazing experiences
Mm-hmm.
with your friends and family. So tell us, like, what are your passions?
Ooh, I love that question. I love talking about it. One of my, I would say 2 of my big two, 3. Let's go with 3.
All right.
One of the passions I'm really passionate about is learning about what people are passionate about and like what sets their soul on fire to pursue what God has for them, because we are all gifted and talented, and I love it. And so if I could be like a cheerleader for somebody, if that could be a job, I'd be like, yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
So I love that.
K.
So
Yeah.
how do you implement that in your current life right now? That's a huge passion for you. So tell me, how do you operate in that?
Oh, my sweet girlfriends, they probably hate it because I call it out in them,
So good.
and then I remind them of it. Because it's like, you're talented. You've got, there's gold in you.
Yeah.
So I would say that, and like with family too. In my sphere right now, that would be how I cultivate that. And then I'm also super passionate about empowering. Now let me say that empowering women, but not like feminist.
Sure,
Okay?
I understand. Yeah.
So and with that comes like, I'm really passionate about eradicating human trafficking.
Yeah.
Because I just think, first of all, it's disgusting. It's
Yes.
gross. It's heartbreaking.
It's devastating.
Yeah, and I think God dropped that passion into my heart in high school.
Wow.
And I was like, what is this? Like, I don't even know. Do you know? I don't even know.
Right.
And then I found out, I was scrolling on Instagram when I was in college, and there was this trip, and it was like, we're gonna go to Thailand and Cambodia, and we're gonna work with like victims of trafficking. And I was like, my heart literally started beating so incredibly, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have like this is something, right?
Right.
There's something
So
on
good.
this. And so I decided to, I told everybody, I was like, I'm doing this, like it's happening. And a cool God thing is that I was gonna raise money, and I had to raise $1,000 in one day, and I was like, well, that's great. And then I was like, but like, I know that God's calling me to Thailand.
Yeah.
And I got 2 donations in like 30 minutes, and that was $1,000, like it was
So
done.
amazing.
Nice.
So it was just like a testimony of God.
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't
His
end
goodness.
up going to to Thailand and Cambodia, and I was devastated.
No way.
happened?
What happened?
Well, due to foreign affairs at the time, like it wasn't safe to go in.
Yeah.
Which is so sad. But again, it's like, I know that I'm gonna do work there.
It's
Like
so
I don't know
good.
what He has for me, but it's
Yeah,
like gonna
I get it.
happen. So that there's an excitement there. But I ended up going to Ecuador,
So cool.
and incredible. So many fun stories.
So how many years ago was that then? That you were in college and you heard about?
That was in 2015.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to Rev really quick, I had walked into the church, and it was the second day, and people were giving prophetic words.
Yeah.
And Bethany,
Yeah.
Hebron, had said, we were all praying, and she's like, obviously I don't know you, but I really feel like Thailand, and like you're a
Come
nation
on.
shaker. And I was like, this is freaky. But like, it's just cool, because
Yeah,
again, it's
so
just like
good.
a testimony to like
Right.
God,
Oh, yeah,
you know?
that's amazing.
Anyway, so I'm super passionate about that. And I haven't been traveling, obviously,
Sure.
right now. But I do volunteer work with A21.
Okay.
And then
Tell us about that. What is that?
yeah, A21 is a global nonprofit organization that works to help eradicate human trafficking.
Awesome.
So it's not just sex trafficking, but it's forced and coerced labor,
Yeah.
it's child soldiers,
Yeah.
it's all the terrible things.
All the terrible
All the
things.
things.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So what do you do, like on like a daily, on the daily? Is that what the young kids say?
On the
On
daily.
the daily?
Maybe we should stop trying to be cool. And just,
Oh,
we're just too old to be
You're
cool
just-
anymore.
you're
I'm too
cool.
old to be cool. You're not. Be cool. Take it away.
How do you work with that in your everyday life, right? Like
Sure.
bringing Jesus into that, but still you have a life, right? That you're doing job and trying to do all this. How do you work
cultivate
that?
that? Yeah. You know, I think there are days where it doesn't get as much attention just
Sure.
because of
Yeah,
life.
of course.
But I'm constantly educating myself and like staying in the know with podcasts and like what the, oh my gosh, now I can't think.
You're doing great.
The Department of Justice, like
Come
what
on, yeah.
everything's doing, right?
Right.
You know, and current, and then using my voice to like educate others because it happens here in our city, and I think
Yeah.
that people think that it's like a foreign, like third world country thing,
Yeah, a lot of
I
people
mean,
think that.
yeah.
and people, right? And it's like it just doesn't seem real until it hits
Yeah.
that it's real, or until you meet somebody and hear their story, but. So with A21, I have for the past 5 years hosted an event in West Michigan, in Grand Rapids, and it's called the Walk for Freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
That is cool,
It's
yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
And basically what that is it's a day across the world just dedicated to raise awareness
So good.
that it's a real thing, that it's
Yeah.
prevalent, and then raise resources to help combat that.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It's
That's brilliant.
Wild.
You know what's amazing is I don't know if I had heard about human trafficking till maybe 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, no.
It just wasn't something you heard about.
Yeah, it was
And-
more hush hush.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, you doing work with the A21 and bringing awareness to it, even that has opened my eyes to different things. And it also started conversation with people. And I am sometimes surprised that there are definitely people that don't think it's real. They don't think it happens in Michigan, it only happens overseas, or they think it's not something that happens in the United States.
Yeah.
And that to me is surprising, and I think bringing awareness to it is super helpful. Like it certainly has been helpful for us.
I agree because, like what you've said is like here. I mean, West Michigan, right? Like
Yeah.
I would have never, until I saw what you were doing. Honestly, it like never crossed my mind that that could happen in Michigan. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's Michigan.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't think like it can happen in the place where you live.
Yeah, in your home.
Or even somehow affect you at all or anything. So I think it's amazing that you are doing this because you bring light to an area that's not, you know,
Absolutely.
as much as it impacts people's lives, it's not always well known. Do you know
Sure.
what I mean? Like I would have known none of it other than from watching you. The only
Yeah.
thing I seen was Taken. Do you know what I mean? The movie,
Oh,
right?
I
So, so I appreciate everything that
yeah,
you've done
thank
with
you.
bringing awareness, and then it gives you a place to speak to. You know, I have a young daughter. I
Right.
don't want her to be scared, but I need her to be aware.
Yeah,
That,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
just because it's Michigan in your home, you still have to be aware of what's
Yeah.
going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
In all of that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It's real. There. Oh, go
So
ahead.
when you how can we as a church family or Christians in general, how do we support you in that? How do we come alongside you and say, like, what can people do to like kind of I don't want to say partner with you, but
Yeah.
support you in this thing you're passionate about that is doing a lot of good in our city?
Yeah, good question. Love it, love it. I think sometimes when people hear like, oh, there's so many like people trapped and like enslaved, like
Yeah.
what can I do as an individual? And it's
Sure.
like, literally use your voice because
Yeah.
everybody has a sphere.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
like if it's like a reach one, you teach one, you reach one.
Yeah.
That's like my motto, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And then also like with the events that we have coming up in the future, you know, promoting it and like just telling people about it. And then it's, I think also education based is
Sure.
huge.
Yeah.
I've been kind of wrestling with like, there are a lot of curriculums out that are to encourage parents to talk to their children.
Yeah.
And because I'm single and I don't have kids,
Sure.
I don't know how parents would feel about it.
I think pretty
I
good.
think pretty good, because I don't think parents would know how to bring up that conversation.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think, just speaking as a parent
Yeah.
and having this conversation with my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
you're more coming from the aspect of keeping them safe. Do
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
If that makes sense at all. So I think having somebody who actually knows what they're talking
Yeah.
about, so
Mm-hmm.
you're not freaking them out, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would be super, super helpful.
Great. Well, I'll do it.
It's like what we
Perfect.
talked about, the people speaking into
Yeah.
people's lives.
Sure.
When you know what I mean.
You know, it's-
if you have that gift, I say speak into their
Yeah.
lives if you can.
Yeah.
Something we talked about earlier, like as a dad, one of the reasons I was so passionate about being part of a church family and committed to a church is I realized I don't have all the tools.
Right.
You know, I have the tools I have and what God's asked me to do and what I believe God's given me the ability to do. It's not all the tools.
No.
You know, and so
No.
I think the idea of you being passionate about my kids understanding it, well, that would bless me
Oh,
as,
for
as
sure.
a dad.
Yeah. Right.
Does that make
For
sense?
sure.
And I think it'd be a great idea.
Great.
That could be like your
Sold.
next step.
You got
Coming
it.
soon.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
To Instagrams near you.
Come on, that's
Amen.
awesome.
Amen.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. And so do you guys do a yearly event, you said?
Yeah, we do the yearly, the Walk for Freedom.
Yeah.
It usually happens every October.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're super excited about it.
Well, that's exciting. And then you said there was 3 things. So you mentioned 2 things you were passionate about.
Oh, no. Well, I think the 2 kind of cohere. So it's the one is like learning about people's passions and like
Yes.
pushing them to pursue that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. And then like building women up and encouraging them, and then human trafficking.
Okay,
like combating
perfect. All right, so
it.
kind of-
1, 2, 3,
Boom,
but
boom,
they
boom.
kind. I mean,
Gotcha.
honestly, they all could.
They all kind of go together, don't they?
Yeah, isn't that
Right?
cool?
Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
It's a good way to do it. So then what do you think's next for you?
Oh, that is exciting to think about. So with my first passion that I shared about, there has been something that's kind of been in my heart. Actually, it was dropped in 2015. It's been a long time coming.
Sure.
And it's basically, the plan is to have, it's 3 phases. The first would be to create an online community for women.
Yeah.
And then the next would be to like almost have a platform type, like similar to LinkedIn in a way.
Sure.
And then the third would be to have like host events, like in city
Yeah.
meetups. But the goal is to, so it's called, I'll say it, I'll share it. It's called Souls Chasing Gold.
So good.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like
And at
that.
first I was like, God, I don't like that. But when you have 5 years to like kind of get on board with God, what he's doing, you're just like, great, that's a cool name.
Right.
It is a cool name.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. And I actually this year I was just like, I just have to be obedient to it.
So good.
You know?
Yeah, I
and
do,
so
yeah.
I've been reaching out, and it's a lot because it's just asking people who are pursuing what they're passionate about to like answer questions for people that are kind of interested in the field that they're going in,
Yeah.
or like, you know, asking questions or having questions answered that they may be intimidated to ask somebody, like a
Right.
role model.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of back work, but it's coming, and I'm super excited.
That's
about it.
exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Good for you.
Thanks.
I like that.
I do too.
Really
Good
good.
job.
So can I ask you another like kind of
Hit me.
wild question?
Wild.
All right. So what would you today tell 12-year-old you? What would you want 12-year-old you to know?
Listen to your parents.
Listen,
Wait,
can I tell
can you say that louder?
Say that louder, please.
Say
Yeah.
that louder for
Yeah.
any of the
Yeah.
young listeners.
Listen to your parents.
Listen to your parents.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
No, my parents, they were so great.
Yeah.
Being the middle child, I would say I probably gave them the most run for their money.
No.
I mean, but they were great. I
Yeah.
mean, they shaped me into who I am, and they put up with me, and so, yeah.
Brilliant.
And now we have, great relationships, so it's just
That's
like,
awesome.
but that's what I'd probably tell myself
All
at
right.
12.
So if you can look into the future now,
Oh,
right? What do you think your future self would tell you today?
oh my gosh. My future self would probably tell me not to worry about what God has next for me, but
Yeah.
to be obedient in what He's got me doing right now.
So good. That's
Yikes.
amazing.
Now I have to take that on now?
Yeah. You know what's really interesting about that? I love this question because it just opens up things, right?
Yeah.
So you would have told your 12-year-old self to be obedient to your parents.
Yeah.
And what you tell yourself today is to be obedient to your father,
Yeah, that's good.
right? And God is the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow,
Yes.
right? And He knows what to speak to us, and He speaks to us in a way that I think we can understand and listen.
Right.
And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how will
cool.
that shape and change your life?
What? How about what?
Like
Listening.
listening.
To God, worrying about today and not the future.
What do you think
Sure.
what do you think would be different for you if you did that?
I think my mindset
Yeah.
would be, that's kind of cliche, right?
No, I don't think so.
But I would say, yeah, because it's easy to get distracted by certain things, or like, oh, well, what about this? Or, oh, you're still single, da da da. Which I don't mind
Sure.
at all.
Yeah.
People, I'm just saying,
In case somebody didn't know, she's single.
Single.
yes. But I am particular. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not
It's a good
Which is
call.
great, yes.
It's wise.
sorry.
Wise.
Yeah.
So if
Mandy was less particular. Worked out well for me.
I had my things I was looking for. Checked them off.
oh, there you go.
All two of them.
A list is a list,
I
right?
mean, it is. It is.
Yeah, but I think, and just being intentional with people, yeah, and making everybody feel included,
So good.
which sometimes, it's like,
good stuff.
I really love deep relationships,
Yes.
and so I'm all about let's get to the heart of it, like what's going on, like tell
Yeah.
me, like what keeps you up at night and what excites you, and I think sometimes, as of lately, it can be where it's like, okay, well, yeah, like I'd love to get coffee with them, but like if I keep getting coffee with all these people, how? But then it's like, well, if God's putting it on my heart, He'll navigate that, right?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So that would kind of tie in with being obedient and what He's got for now.
All kind of comes back, doesn't
Isn't
it?
that funny?
I do think sometimes, because I know I've been through that season, and honestly, it pops up a lot, but I do think sometimes it's so much easier to look at the things, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the goal, instead of like doing all the things to get there. Because we look at the goal as being the thing that we've made it. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Instead of doing all the things to get us there, and the obedience, I think, is what grows us and makes us who we are. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's such an important part of the process of being in the moment, and being obedient instead of just going for the goal. Because you can just jump over some things, right,
Sure.
and get it. But are you gonna be who you were meant to be, right? Or are you
Yeah.
gonna have to keep repeating that same thing over
Again
and
and
over
again.
and over again
There-
sometimes?
Sorry, were you?
Oh yeah, go.
No, I think that's really good. There was a gentleman who I listened to, and he was talking about the importance of transition and how sometimes naturally we like to view like a hallway as a hallway, just getting us from point A to B, but how we have to like take time to like process and go through the hallway and like take the steps.
Right.
And I just thought that like you're right, being in the moment and like growing in that. Yeah. So you guys are leaders at the Point.
Yes,
So that's something you're passionate about.
incredibly.
Okay, what else is something you're passionate about?
You first.
I think one of the biggest things we're passionate about is family.
Yes.
We love, I mean, having a family and watching them grow. I think for us is we just want the family unit to be strong. And I'm not just talking about your natural kids, right? Or your husband and your wife.
Yeah.
The family of God, right? If we can understand what that means, I mean, I just love that. And babies.
You love babies.
Yes.
Mandy's a big fan
All
of
right.
babies.
Love babies. And watching people just grow into who they're called to be, right?
Yeah.
Like having your generation, what is the word I'm looking for? Surpass
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we left the bar quite low.
Yeah, you guys should have no problem. It's
I
like a
mean,
mini hurdle.
I mean, just a little jump, but I mean, I think for me, that's what.
That's really
one of
great.
the- One of my things.
Yeah, I think for me I kind of have, I have some things that I'm passionate about as a husband, as a father.
Oh, yeah,
and
me too, as a wife.
As a church leader. One of the things I would say, like when I look at me and Amanda's marriage,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people sometimes their big goal is like growing old together. And I think that's a really cool goal. But I think my goal is that as we grow, we stay young. And we stay
Amen.
teachable, and how we are. Like growing old, I think there's like some connotation to that I don't think fits with. I don't think I'm going to be an 80-year-old.
Sure.
Right. I still think me and Mandy will operate and focus on our youthfulness.
Yeah.
In a lot of
Amen.
areas, and I think that's kind of a goal for me is that we don't get too set in our ways.
Yeah, I love that.
That we stay open to the new things that God's doing in the planet, and that we stay flexible,
Like
right?
social
and
media.
that's like social media, even grabbing hold of that and differently because we have dropped the ball on that, right? As a dad, my goals are that my sons are good husbands,
Yeah.
and my daughter's a good wife.
Yeah.
Those are
good.
big goals for me, right? And then I think that's what I want for them. I want them to walk with God all the days of their life, and so when I look at them, that's always been kind of our focus. And then as a pastor, I want us all to grow with God daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? And so how we grow in maturity, right? There's, the length of salvation is not the same as the maturity in salvation you walk in, the level of commitment to who God is in your life. So someone can get saved at 6, but never get discipled if they don't want.
Sure.
They can never grow in that maturity. And so I think seeing the mature body of Christ come together in unity.
That's
Right.
the key.
Yeah, that's a key one. And I think we live in a time now where people throw the word around the word family around like crazy.
Yeah.
Every time somebody starts whatever, right? A new business, it's all hey fam. And I think, man, we throw that word. I remember I had a job one time and they were like, we're a family. And I thought, no, we're not. We're not a family.
Yeah.
Like, I work here and this isn't family, and I think redefining what it really means to be part of a family. And what it means to be part of a family is, I think, something that as Christians, it must actually look different.
Yeah.
Right.
If we're the family of
Right.
God, it's okay if you annoy me.
True.
It's okay if you frustrate me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to forgive you because that's what families do, and we work things
Sure.
out, and we stay in peace with each other, and we find the gold in each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while God's called you to empower women, that means He's called me to help you and cheerlead you on in what
Yeah.
God's called you to.
I love it.
And I think that's a huge part for me and Mandy, and a huge passion for us, is that we see the actual family of God come together in a way that's powerful.
Yeah.
And those are big passions for us.
I love them.
And staying young.
All about
Yeah,
I was
all
just
about
gonna
staying
go
young.
back to my passion's all about being young. It's like, my passion, what can we do for that?
Oh, so
I mean,
good.
Sign me up.
Yeah, young's fun.
Yeah, crap.
It is interesting. I'm 42 now, and
You're 43.
43. I'm aging by the minute. And
Yep, you've been there.
am I really 43?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I think. Yeah.
Wow, I was born in 1977, February 1977, so we can figure that out. But I don't feel 42 or 43. I think I still feel like I'm 20.
I love that.
You know, and yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, good friends of ours, like Dave and Carol.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
They have such
Yeah.
like a joyful young spirit, but it's because they choose that.
They
Yes.
do.
And I've had
the key.
multiple conversations with Carol about it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
you know, you choose.
You
make
do.
a choice.
You do. And it's like, I want, you know, we joke all the time, all of our friends are like 10 years younger than us.
Sure.
Like they're all a lot younger than us. It's maybe because the people our age are too mature for us. I don't know.
Be.
But
Could be.
It could be, but it's,
We say young mentally.
yeah.
Just kidding.
But there's
kidding.
there's an aspect to it where we love having fun with
Yeah.
each other
Yeah.
and with our kids and with people, and we enjoy the youthfulness that we still get to experience in the
Oh.
things of God.
Because I
Yeah.
think it brings something to
Yeah.
us. Do you know what I mean? It brings fun to us. And watching the way you guys experience life, like I
Oh, so
want
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I do hope there's a part like where we're a little older, like maybe there's something you can learn from us too.
Yeah.
I think there's I love the clearly I never ran track. I should have, but I never ran track.
Girl, running? No. I quit
but
soccer for that.
Yeah.
I would play volleyball.
Oh,
Here we
of
go.
course
I
you
jump.
did.
I could.
Cute
I
little
can
blonde
jump.
ponytail.
Okay, you can still jump?
Oh, amen. I could
All
jump
right,
over
we're
that
gonna
net.
have to film some jumping later.
Anyways,
I can jump.
I'm an athlete. Anyways, but you know that when you're running, what's the thing where they run with 4 different people and you hand the thing
Relay.
off? Relay race.
Yeah, athlete.
Right?
You still want to stick with she's Batman? You still want to run with that? I just want to give you a chance to backtrack on that statement.
Circling around.
Anyway, I'm coming to my point. But you know how when you hand the baton off,
Yeah.
right? And I do think there is an aspect of that where having the generations all learn from each other, but still coming together, because you have to hand the baton off in that one
Yes.
section, or else you're
Yeah.
disqualified. Like I think that's such a huge part in that
Good
one
visual.
section where you're all together and you can learn from each other. It's not just the one person coming to get the baton, the other person's doing something as well.
is.
I think
Really
that's
good.
so important
That's really good.
Yeah.
for us, like as generations, because our ultimate goal is for you guys to do way better than we are in life.
Yeah.
Like I want my kids to be better parents, to be better husbands and wives than what we were, and that's our ultimate goal. But I still think we have a little bit to offer to them.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? As
Yeah.
they're running with us in that area.
That's good.
So, Mandy, can I ask you a question on that?
Yes.
Okay, great. I love that visual because I think that's so good, and I love that you're saying that you have something to give us because I'm here for that. So, what is something that you feel like that you have to offer to this generation, or how do you feel like the best way to teach us with the knowledge like being received?
Oh, okay.
No, that was loaded. I'm sorry.
I think the best way to teach is by living it out and having a relationship with that
Yeah.
person, right?
good.
To really teach for me. I think, yeah, you could tell somebody X, Y, and Z, right? But A, your life has to have that fruit, for one. And B, I think it's easier if you have a relationship with them that you can
Yeah.
speak into their life. For me, what I think one of the things I would love your generation to know, well, it's honestly mostly for women, right? I want women to know who they are. They're equal to men, but we have God-given roles that we're given. And I think we need to find the strength in who we're called to be and not compare ourselves to men, right? It's what I think. I think women need to understand who we are, because there's so much strength and there's so much that we can do when we realize that.
Agreed.
That we're not called to do everything a man can do. And on the flip side, men definitely cannot do all the things that women can do. Do you know what I mean? And I think I would love for women in the younger generation to get an identity of who they are, and it's not a competition. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's if we can find that, we can change communities. Do you know what I mean? And I think what you're passionate about, cheerleading people on, is so amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
But I think to do that, you have to have a bridge, and your life has to have that fruit,
Replicate
or
it,
else, like, who's gonna listen to you, right? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
at all.
It's really
So that's
good.
what I would say.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think that you live out a life that people want to hear what you have to say.
I hope
that's
so.
Awesome.
I hope so.
I think you do.
I mean, you have to say that. So
I think one of the things that Mandy said that I think is a really important part is one of the things that me and Mandy did years ago is we made a decision to receive wisdom from fruitful people.
yeah.
And that was one of the best decisions I think we ever made as a couple.
Not always the easiest.
Not always the easiest,
Sure.
right? And so when we looked at, parenting wisdom, we looked to receive advice and wisdom from people whose kids bore that fruit that we were looking for.
Right.
And I think that's an important aspect. We were very clear what we wanted for our kids when they were young. That might not be what everybody wants for their kids, but we looked for the fruit of that in someone else's life for that to be something.
Right.
And in our marriage, we looked at marriages that we wanted our marriage to be. And that was the advice we would go after. And so I think
Incredible.
I think the fruit of your life speaks volumes.
I think it's the most. It's the number one factor anybody should weigh in how they receive wisdom from somebody.
Yeah,
It is the number one factor. And the
mean,
Bible tells us
if
that,
you want.
which is good.
Right. See? Going back to the Bible.
All back to
not
the Bible.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I think we live in a society where your generation, man, you're inundated with people talking about what people should do.
Oh, yeah.
And you see a lot of fake fruit. A lot of fake fruit, right? You see a lot of infomercials or a lot of people standing by really nice cars that aren't actually theirs, and they're telling you how to do money.
Sure.
And you think, wow, there's just to know actual fruit, I've got to know you.
Right.
And I've got to see your life, and I've got to know your kids. I've got to see your kids, and I think being intentional with having relationships,
Absolutely.
where you can actually understand what it is someone carries that you might want to glean from. I think that's an important aspect. So I always love that Mandy mentions fruit, but for us, it was such a big decision.
So
good.
what I'm saying is if you need to know how to be athletic, clearly the fruit of my
Fruit.
life.
It's
I mean,
there.
it is there.
It's right.
So I'm just saying.
No, all right.
So
Sorry.
hit me up, girl.
Yeah.
Get that volley.
Right.
Unbelievable.
I was
Don't
at
encourage
basketball.
these things.
Anyways, so I do want to say before we end, I think I'm super proud of you for stepping out in what you're doing in the community.
Thanks.
And I think it's amazing that you have such a passion for this and you are going for it and you are educating people.
Yeah.
Changing their lives, and I honestly cannot wait to see the fruit of your life in this area and all the generations that you're going to impact with this. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Thanks.
Kaitlyn Geers, you're amazing.
Amazing.
Oh, thank you guys for having me and discussing.
You
I
bet.
love it.
It was fun.
So
We'll do it
good.
again.
Yes.
All right, thanks.